The storm rolled in just as the last light faded over the Montana plains. John McAllister stood on the porch of his ranch house, hat low, coat pulled tight, staring out at the horizon that had swallowed nearly every hope he'd ever had. For 12 years, he'd lived alone, widowed, heartbroken, raising cattle and memories that never stopped hurting. His wife Lily had vanished in a river accident. The sheriff called it a tragedy. The town called it fate. John called it the day half his soul died. No body was ever found. No closure. Just a muddy riverbank and a single boot belonging to the woman he loved more than life. He kept her wedding ring on a leather cord around his neck. Every morning, he touched it before stepping out the door. Every night, he touched it again before falling asleep in the empty bed they once shared. 12 long years. He never remarried, never looked at another woman, never let a single soul into his heart. The ranch was all he had left to occupy his hands. Grief occupied his heart. That was why, on this cold, windy evening, when he saw two tiny figures walking up the long dirt road toward his house, he assumed he was imagining things. Children didn't wander out here, and certainly not at night. At first he thought the wind was playing tricks on him, but no, the closer they came, the clearer they became. Two little girls. Small, thin, about 7 or 8, wearing coats too big for them, clutching each other's hands tightly, stumbling through the cold. One had a torn red scarf, the other carried a worn-out doll missing an arm. John stepped off the porch immediately. "Hey," he called out, voice deep, rough from years of silence. "Girls, are you lost?" The twins froze. The one with the scarf lifted her trembling chin. Snowflakes clung to her eyelashes. Are you John McAllister?" John's breath hitched. "Yes," he said slowly, "that's my name." The twins exchanged a nervous glance, then took a tiny step forward. The one with the doll swallowed hard, voice shaking. "Mama told us if we were ever in danger to come to you." John frowned. His heartbeat grew loud. "Who's your mother?" he asked gently. "Where is she now?" Both girls' eyes filled with terrified tears. The one with the scarf whispered, "Lily McAllister." The world stopped. John froze, body, mind, breath. For a full 10 seconds, the wind was the only thing moving. Then he whispered, voice breaking, What did you just say?" "Our mother's name," the girl repeated, stepping closer. "Lily McAllister. She told us you were our daddy." The ring around his neck suddenly felt like it weighed 100 pounds. He reached up and grabbed it on impulse, gripping the metal so tightly it dug into his palm. These girls, these tiny, scared little girls, were looking at him with the one word he thought he'd never hear again. "Daddy." He felt the world slip out from under him. But he forced himself to stay steady. "Come inside," he whispered. "It's too cold for you out here." He opened the door, ushering them into the warm glow of the old wooden ranch house. They clung to each other as they stepped inside, snow melting off their coats, turning into small puddles on the floor. He knelt down to their height. "What are your names?" he asked softly. The girl with the scarf answered first, "I'm Rose." The other whispered, "And I'm Daisy." Rose and Daisy. He felt the names settle deep into him, like they belonged there. "Are you really my daughters?" he asked, voice trembling with a fear he hadn't felt since the night Lily disappeared. Rose nodded through tears. "Mama told us our whole lives that you loved us, that you were brave, that you'd take care of us if anything ever happened." John's heart cracked open like lightning splitting a tree. "Where is your mother now?" he whispered. The twins broke. They collapsed into each other's arms, sobbing so hard their tiny shoulders shook. John felt panic, dread, and hope all at once. Daisy whispered through tears, "She's hurt." Rose added, "She said men were coming, bad men. She told us to run." John's blood ran ice cold. He stood instantly. Where? He demanded, but carefully, gently. Where did you leave her? Rose pointed toward the dark wooded trail beyond the pasture. In an old cabin, near the river. Mama can't walk. John grabbed his coat, his rifle, and all the fury he'd buried for 12 long years. Girls, he said with iron in his voice, you stay here. Don't open the door for anyone. Rose grabbed his sleeve. Please bring her back. Please save Mama. He squeezed her hand. I'll bring her home, he promised. I swear it. He rode out into the storm on his black stallion, snow burning his face, wind slicing at his hat. The moon barely lit the path, but he knew the land better than he knew his own heartbeat. He found the cabin. The door was broken. The snow around it was disturbed, footprints, dragged marks, signs of struggle. He burst in and froze. A woman lay on the floor, half-conscious, covered in bruises. Her dark hair spilled across the wood. Her face thinner, scarred, older, but unmistakable. John fell to his knees. Lily, he whispered. Her eyes fluttered open. Tears spilled instantly. John, she breathed, voice weak, raw, unbelieving. You came. He caught her face in his hands. He didn't know whether to cry or scream or thank God until his voice failed. You're alive, he whispered. My God, you're alive. Her fingers trembled as they touched his cheek. I tried to come back to you, she whispered, but they... A branch snapped outside. John stiffened. Footsteps, more than one pair. They had followed her daughters. They were coming back. He lifted her carefully into his arms, pressing her against his chest the way he used to, when nothing in the world could harm them. Hold on, he whispered. I'm getting you home. Gunshots rang out. John shoved through the back window, sprinting toward the woods with Lily in his arms. Bullets tore through the trees, but nothing, not fear, not pain, not 12 years of grief, could slow him down. He made it to his horse, secured Lily on the saddle, mounted behind her, and charged into the dark. They rode until the gunshots faded, until the cabin was a memory swallowed by the storm. Finally, they reached the ranch. When John carried Lily across the porch, the twins rushed toward them. Mama, they cried. John set Lily gently on the couch. The girls threw their arms around her, sobbing, shaking, clinging as if they'd never let go again. Lily stroked their hair, crying silently. John stood there, staring at this impossible miracle. His wife alive, their daughters real, a family he never knew he had now gathered under his roof. He swallowed hard. Lily, tell me what happened, tell me everything. She looked up at him with eyes full of 12 years of pain. They took me, she whispered. The night of the accident, they wanted ransom, wanted land, wanted you to break. John felt fire rise in his chest. But I escaped, Lily continued, voice trembling. I spent years running, hiding, raising our daughters alone, waiting for the day I could bring them to the only man I ever loved. John sank to his knees in front of her, pulling her into his arms. Lily sobbed into his shoulder. I never stopped loving you, she whispered, not for a single day. He choked out, I would have searched the world for you if I'd known. I know, she cried. That's why I sent them to you. You're the only man I trust. Rose and Daisy curled against them both, holding onto their parents like they'd found the home they never had. John wrapped his arms around all three of them, pulling them close, as if shielding them from every darkness outside. For the first time in 12 years, warmth filled the room, real warmth, hope, love, family. A broken man had become a father again. A widowed rancher had become a husband again. A shattered story had become whole. And as Lily rested her forehead against his, whispering, We're home, John, we're finally home, he knew he had been given a second chance no man ever expected. A chance to love, a chance to protect, a chance to be the father and husband he was always meant to be. And he would never, ever let them go again. The room fell silent after the twins' soft, trembling voices echoed, "Daddy, please don't send us away." Elias stood frozen, breathing hard, one hand still gripping the back of the wooden chair like it was the only thing holding him upright. The world he had kept locked behind iron doors, memories of his wife, her laughter, her sudden disappearance, suddenly spilled into the present like a flood. "Girls," he whispered, voice cracked and fragile, "tell me everything." The twins exchanged a look, as if silently deciding who would speak first. It was Lily who finally stepped forward, small hands pressed nervously together. "Mama said that you loved us before we were even born," she whispered. "And she said we had your eyes," Ivy added. Elias swallowed hard. "My wife, your mother, his voice died." He couldn't finish. He didn't even know the truth. The older woman who had brought them, the one they called Aunt Me, stepped closer. "Elias," she said softly, "I didn't come here to hurt you. I came because it's time you finally knew the truth." He turned sharply toward her. "Why now? Why after all these years? Why let me think she was dead?" Aunt Me's weathered face tightened with grief. "Because she wanted it that way. Because she thought it was the only way to keep you alive." The words hit him like a blow. "Keep me alive," he said. "From what?" Me hesitated. "From the men who came after her. From the ones who thought you knew something she was running from." Elias shook his head slowly. "I never knew. She left in the middle of the night. I woke up and she was just gone." The twins stood quietly between them, wide-eyed, clutching each other's hands. Me nodded. "She took the girls and hid with us in the mountains. She never stopped loving you, not for a single day. But she believed disappearing was the only way to protect you." Elias felt his knees weakening. He knelt down so he was eye level with the twins. "Your mama," he said, "is she?" The girls' faces fell. Ivy whispered, "She's sick, very sick, that's why we came." Lily nodded, tears gathering fast. "Mama said if anything ever happened, we were supposed to find you." A sharp pain stabbed straight through Elias' chest. "Where is she?" he asked, rising to his feet. His voice was no longer broken, now it carried purpose. Me exhaled shakily. "In the canyon camp. She's been fatting fast. She wanted to hold out long enough to reach you, but the winter hit too hard. She can't travel." Elias didn't wait another second. "Get the horses," he said. His voice was steel. "We leave now." That night, the wind howled across the plains as Elias rode with me and the twins through the frozen valley. Snow whipped against their faces, the moon casting long shadows across the ground. The twins clung to him tightly on the saddle, their small bodies trembling from cold and fear. "Don't worry," Elias whispered to them. "I'm here now. I won't let anything happen to her, or to you." But as they reached the canyon ridge, Me's torch flickered in the darkness. "She's inside," Me said, pointing to a small wooden shelter built against the rock. Elias slid off the horse before it had even stopped moving. Inside the shelter, the air was still and cold. A thin blanket covered a frail figure curled on a straw bed. Elias' breath caught. It was her. Rachel. The woman he had loved more than life. The woman he had mourned for years. Her eyes fluttered open at the sound of footsteps. Her lips parted. "Elias," her voice trembled like it was made of smoke. He fell to his knees beside her. His hand wrapped around hers, small, cold, and fragile. "Rachel," he whispered, tears streaming freely now, "I thought you were gone." She smiled weakly. "I wanted to come back sooner. I wanted to explain." Her voice faded. "But the girls, they needed you." The twins rushed to her side. "Mama," Ivy whispered, pressing her cheek to Rachel's shoulder. "We found him. We found Daddy." Rachel exhaled, a soft, relieved breath. "I knew you would," she whispered. Elias brushed a strand of hair from her face, voice breaking apart. Rachel, come home with me. Let me take care of you. Let me fix this, all of it. She blinked slowly, tears gathering in the corners of her eyes. I don't know if I'll make it through the night, she said, but I needed you to know I never stopped loving you. I left to save you. Elias shook his head fiercely. You're not dying, he said. Not tonight, not while I'm here. He lifted her gently, wrapping her in his coat, holding her close as if he could pour warmth back into her. They traveled back slowly, me leading the way with the lantern. Elias kept Rachel in his arms the entire ride, whispering to her, keeping her awake, willing her to keep breathing. And somehow she did. By the time they reached his ranch, dawn was breaking. The sky glowed pink and gold, as if offering a blessing. Inside the warm cabin, Rachel finally slept deeply, peacefully, surrounded by the twins on either side. Elias stood by the doorway, watching them. His family, the one he thought he'd lost forever. For the first time in years, his cabin didn't feel empty. He whispered into the quiet morning, "You're home now, all of you, and I swear I won't lose you again."